Thanks, Alex. Minerals 260 is looking to repeat the huge success of Chalice in the new Julimar province of WA. Since listing last year following the demerger of the exploration assets of Liontown Resources, the company has already hit the ground running with considerable early success. Please welcome Managing Director David Richards.
Thanks, Abby, and good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for coming along to listen to the Minerals 260 story. Today I'm going to be providing an update on the results of the exploration work we've completed since we listed in October last year and why we're so excited by the results that we've got to date. The standard disclaimer, I won't dwell on this. This presentation is available on our website if you do want to study this in more detail later on. As Abby said, Minerals 260 was formed to advance the non-lithium assets of Liontown Resources, which is now concentrating on developing the world-class Kathleen Valley Lithium Project. Because of the Liontown connection, most of the Minerals 260 board is made up of either current or former members of the Liontown board. I'm a former Liontown director. Anthony Cipriano, who's our director, who's our chairman and is here today if you want to meet him, is the chairman. And of course, Tim Goyder, the very well-known Tim Goyder, is a non-executive director on Minerals 260. More recently, we've been joined by Emma Scotney. She brings additional business skills to the board. She also comes from a farming background, and considering where we're working in the Moora and Kujan regions, this is a very useful background to have. The main assets of Minerals 260 are the Moora and Kujan projects. We have about 1,000 square kilometres under tenure in the Julimar Mineral Province, or about 90 k's north of where Alex was talking about, 150 k's north-northeast of Perth. It takes us about an hour and a half to get there, so you guys must be driving really slow, Alex, that's all I can say. Most of the ground that we have was previously unexplored. We've spent about $4 million since we listed. Importantly, we've delivered on our IPO strategy with significant mineralisation intersected at a number of prospects. And we have a good bank balance, so a good healthy bank balance of around $25 million. We've been busy since we listed last year. We've intersected at Moora and Kujan. We've intersected some significant mineralisation at 4 prospects. All the mineralised trends remain open. We're currently having a follow-up drilling program, which we didn't really expect to have considering we were in cropping areas, but we've been able to get on the ground because we've got a good relationship with our farmers and actually do some drilling during the winter period. We have 2 other projects in the portfolio, Dingo Rocks, which I'll touch on a little bit later on, and Yell West, where we're both projects where we're working on developing drill targets for testing later this year. Our strong bank balance means we have the capacity to advance things as quick as we like. Given the $25 million, we can go hammer and tongs on the exploration. It also gives us the capacity to consider new opportunities if they come along. Moving on to the projects. It's, as I said before, we've got a large land position, about 150 k's north-northeast of Perth. Importantly, it's in contiguous project area. It's not a piecemeal tenement position, which means we can conduct exploration seamlessly across tenement boundaries. Like Chalice and Caspin, we were one of the early movers in the region, so we picked up our initial land position well before the Julimar discovery. Because we were there early, we picked up what we thought was some of the better ground, and I think you can see that reflected in the results today. So, basically 3 prospects where we've done deep drilling. We've got 3 out of 3. And I think given the limited exploration done in this area, it really emphasises the potential for a significant discovery in the region. And beyond the advanced prospects, we have multiple high-order targets that have yet to be drill tested. We have identified what we consider to be 3 prospective trends on our land position. In the west, we have the northern extension of the Julimar trend. We've already defined a number of geochemical and geophysical anomalies within this trend. Further to the east and parallel, or just to the east and parallel to the Julimar trend, we have the Mount Yule corridor. This is where we've done most of our work to date, and this is the location of the most advanced prospects, that being Mint, Zest and Angipina. It also includes what we think is going to be a very important feature, the Moora gravity anomaly, which we'll be prioritising as we go forward as well. Within both the Julimar trend and the Mount Yule corridor, we've completed a lot more geochemical sampling. We've done reconnaissance air core drilling. we're literally waiting for thousands of assays to come back from the lab, and we think this is going to identify further targets for drill testing. And further to the east, we have the historic Bindi nickel prospect, where way back in 1968, just before they discovered Windara, Poseidon nickel actually intersected some pretty significant nickel numbers near surface, which we haven't followed up as yet. Okay, keep zooming in. So most of our work to date has been focused on the Mount Yule magnetic anomaly. This is a large magnetic high. It's largely due to mafic, ultramafic rocks. 7 kilometres east-west, 2.5 kilometres north-south. Drilling across this magnetic feature has identified significant mineralisation at 3 prospects. So at Mint, in the northern part of the anomaly, we've intersected up to 24 metres of 1.9% copper and 0.7 gold. Zest, which we think is a similar style of mineralisation, we've intersected 12 metres of 1.4% copper and 2 grams gold. And at Angipina, which was one of the earlier prospects we identified, we've defined a large gold zone with associated copper and cobalt. All of these prospects remain open, and we're obviously looking forward to getting in and chasing the mineralisation out. So Mint this came along pretty earlier this year. This prospect was defined initially by geochemical sampling and then wide-spaced air core drilling. So in late 2020, a shallow air core hole 12, intersected 9 metres of 2% copper in the oxidised zone. We drilled underneath this pretty quickly. Unfortunately, we went into a barren dolerite dike, which is a bit of a curse of this area. But we did some downhole geophysics that defined an off-hole conductor, which we came back earlier this year and drilled into and intersected the 24 metres of significant copper and gold mineralisation. The mineralisation at Mint is associated with a large geochemical anomaly. It's a 1.5 kilometre copper and soil anomaly. It's coincident with a strong IP conductor, which is at least a kilometre long, remains open. And it's also coincident with a large magnetic feature. So we think all of these parameters combined indicate the potential for a large mineralised system at Mint. Unfortunately, it's in the middle of the wheat paddock, so we won't be able to get back here until after the crops come off later this year, but we're obviously looking very forward to following this one up. Zest, as I said, at this stage we think it's a similar style of mineralisation to Mint. That may change as time goes on. Unlike Mint, there is no coincident geochemical anomaly, probably because the sample spacing is too wide. It didn't make any sense that down the eastern part of this magnetic anomaly didn't have any mineralisation, so we drilled a line of shallow air core holes along a road. One of these holes, hole 72, intersected broad zones of very anomalous copper and gold mineralisation, not ore grade, but very anomalous. We drilled underneath it again this year, intersected 12 metres of 2 grams gold and 1.4% copper. Because Zest is located on the edge of a cropping area, and because we have a pretty good relationship with our farmers, we're actually being able to get back, and we're currently doing follow-up drilling at Zest as we speak, so we're looking to see assays from the drilling this in probably August, unfortunately, because of the lab turnaround that Headley touched on earlier today. Angipina was the first prospect we identified. It was formed part of the prospectus because it was early in the piece. We've done more drilling there. We've defined a 900 metre plus gold zone with copper cobalt association. Geology here is different than the other 2 prospects. We're planning to do another 2 or 3 holes in a week or so, or probably next week, just to get a better handle on what's controlling mineralisation at Angipina, and then we'll do that. Once we get the results of that drilling, we'll work out what next to do at this prospect. I touched on the Moora gravity anomaly earlier in my presentation. When we first went to Moora, we focused very much on the magnetic highs. The reason we've done this is because magnetism is a very good way to define or identify prospective mafic, ultramafic intrusions underneath cover. The only problem, or the only limitation with this approach, is not all prospective mafic, ultramafic rocks are magnetic, but they're all dense. So earlier this year we got in, we completed a large gravity survey over the western part of the project area, and this has defined a very large gravity anomaly, and the northern part of which is coincident with the Mount Yule magnetic feature. So we're confident that what we're seeing here, what we're seeing mapped out here, is a very large mafic, ultramafic intrusive complex. 3D modelling, which is on the right-hand side of this slide, indicates that this body is potentially up to 13 kilometres long, 3 to 4 kilometres wide, so it's a massive feature. Mineralisation is associated, or appears to be localised on the edge of this gravity feature. So we've estimated that this prospective margin zone is probably we've got 25 kilometres of it. So this marginal zone, in addition to the prospects we've already defined, will be a priority for future exploration at Moora, and I think will become a very important exploration tool in the area. So everything I've talked about so far is on our 100% owned ground, so the wholly owned tenure of Minerals 260. The Kujan joint venture, we have a right to earn up to 51% in this. It's located on the western boundary of the Moora project. We originally started work there in 2021, so about 12 to 18 months after Moora. We defined a number of targets last year. We've come back this year and done further target definition work, multiple geophysical programs, a heap of extra geochemistry and a bit of reconnaissance air core drilling. So this has done two things. It's enhanced the existing targets that we had, and it's defined a whole bunch of new ones. Two of the most high priority targets on the Kujan ground are the Bulbana and Mallory prospects. At Bulbana, we've defined a strong gold anomaly over about 600 metres of strike. This is coincident with a strong IP conductor, which we're hoping is indicating we've got some sort of sulphide mineralogy at depth. And at Mallory, similarly, we've got a very large geochemical anomaly, but here, instead of just gold, we've actually got a coincident gold PGE copper anomaly over about 2 kilometres of strike. Again, coincident with a IP feature. So both of these targets are drill ready, and we're looking to get back in. Hopefully we get into Mallory during the winter period, but both of these are drill ready and are just an example of some of the targets we've got to follow up at Moora and Kujan. So the next steps at Moora and Kujan, well, we've got the advanced projects, the prospects we need to follow up. We've got a bunch of drill ready targets which we're looking to get in and drill as well. And beyond that, we have, waiting for a whole heap of assay data which we're confident will generate new targets which we look forward to drill and hopefully to discover more mineralisation. So just quickly on Dingo Rocks, it's located in southeast Western Australia. It's about 300 kilometres south-southeast of Kalgoorlie. It's located in the Albany-Fraser province, close to the margin of the Yilgarn Craton. So in geological terms, it's broadly analogous to the Nova and Tropicana deposits to the northeast. The prospective geology is largely undercover. We picked up the ground to assess a number of magnetic highs which have never been explored in the past or never been tested in the past. We think these have potential to be indicating mafic, ultramafic intrusions that are prospective for nickel, copper, PGE mineralisation. Interestingly, since we listed and since we acquired this ground, our neighbours immediately to the west, Mika Gold, have been reporting some very significant gold numbers, up to 23 metres of 5 grams gold, so some pretty chunky numbers coming out of it. And to us, this confirms that the metal fertility of the region. You look at the eastern goldfields, you get copper and nickel, gold and nickel projects close together, so we suspect we're looking at something similar here. Since listing, like Moora and Kujan, we've completed a gravity survey to help us identify these prospective mafic, ultramafic rocks undercover. The data from the gravity has confirmed the potential or the presence of relatively dense rocks. So now we're planning to get in and follow them up. So we're in the process of organising a heritage survey, which we're looking to get done next month, with the intention to get in here and do the initial drill testing later this year. This area has also become a bit of a hotspot for saprolite clay hosted rare earth mineralisation. We're not 100% convinced about the viability of it, but we'll keep an eye on what our neighbours are doing, and if it looks like it's going to work, well, I think our ground is equally prospective for rare earth mineralisation as well. But our main focus at the moment are the precious and base metals. So just to conclude, why Minerals 260? The risk is sounding big-headed. We're smart enough to be one of the early movers in the Julimar mineral province, and we've acquired a nice large land position to explore. Our initial drilling has been successful. We've got significant mineralisation at 3 prospects, so basically 3 out of 3. Follow-up drilling is in progress, so there will be some news coming out of here later, in the month or so. Importantly, we have a strong target pipeline, so we've got numerous targets to test, not only at Moora and Kujan, but I also think at the other projects. We have our access agreements in place, which is critical. We're at Moora and Kujan, we're in an area of freehold tenure, so if we don't have an agreement with the farmers and their goodwill, we can't do anything. All of our projects are largely unexplored, as Alex touched on when he started talking about the eastern goldfields. I mean, you've had 50 to 60 years worth of exploration done in that part of the world. They're still finding things every now and then. We've had 2 to 3 years worth of exploration done here, so that really does emphasise the upside. We've got a great board, successful management team. We know how to find them, we know how to mine them, we know how to develop them. Strong bank balance, critical. You know, we don't have to worry about raising money to advance our exploration effort, and I don't think we can underestimate the importance of being in a mining-friendly jurisdiction of Western Australia. Thank you very much. Cheers.